We're gonna be in front of this better than last time.
All right, reading called to order at 4:01. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Before we start, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Cindy as acting chair for the meeting.
Second. What you wish.
Thought you would.
I mean, we could do Ed instead if you're not comfortable. I've handled meetings before too.
I'm sure somebody can do it, that's one.
It has been a few years. Do you need approval of that motion? Or no?
He's second. I think we're good with the first and the second. I don't think we did a roll.
Yeah.
Roll, okay, roll call vote. Cindy?
Aye.
Bob?
Yes.
Ed?
Yeah.
Me, yes.
Okay. Okay, we have three different sets of minutes to approve. First one being the minutes of our regular township board meeting on July 10th, 2024. The motion for approval.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Okay, motion by Ed, second by Bob. To approve minutes of the July 10th meeting. Is there any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes of the special board meeting on July 18th.
I'll make the motion. Is written.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Bob, second by Ed to approve the minutes of the special meeting of July 18th. Any discussion on those? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's carried. And then the final one is the special board meeting of July 23rd.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Andrew, a second by Bob. To approve the minutes of the meeting of July 23rd. Is there any discussion on those? Okay, none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, amending the agenda.
I would like to amend the agenda to include another closed session to discuss the DeVoe settlement agreement. I'm sorry, not settlement agreement, the DeVoe consent order, excuse me.
Just change that on unfinished business. Is that?
Yeah.
Just put it there?
Yep.
Or do you need it?
It needs to be. You can do it at the
Yep.
same time as the other one.
So I guess I have a question to, is there any merit in doing a closed session toward the end of the meeting? And the only reason I say that, I can remember with the city, we used to do it at the end so that if people chose to leave, they weren't held up. And then those that were interested could, stay for the end, but well, that's something that would be appropriate to amend the.
I like
agenda
it being
with,
at the end, so I'm all about that if everybody else is okay with that.
I think that's fine.
or To amend it.
Right after invasive species before public comment. And then-
No, I think you'd want to wait before adjournment. Because
Tried
when
to
somebody
have
wanted
public-
to make, we could always offer public comment again when we came back.
We also have public comment after we amend the agenda too. So they have that one. I didn't know if anybody would want to have public comment at the end after the closed session. I'm all about whatever anybody else wants to do. What works for you guys?
Where would you like that item placed?
I think before we go in, and it'd be easier to move on.
So you're saying after the public.
Before I go to public, or leave it like you did. Public comment, we would go when the exec session, and if there, let's say, might want to have a public comment afterwards, after we come out of session, but you'd have two, right?
You're saying kind of what I did.
Yeah.
So public comment before and after. Okay. And then also, we need to amend the agenda to add the midway contract. Put on there to approve the one that was already done, the roads. This is the one you guys discussed at that meeting
With that.
on the roads, just to.
Oh. Any other amendments to the agenda? Okay, is there a motion to that effect? To include everything?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion by to amend the agenda as stated, adding a closed session for the vote consent agreement, adding the midway contract to roads, moving the closed sessions to after the public comment, and then when we come back, we will have another public comment before adjourning the meeting. Everybody's understanding of what we're doing? All those in favor say aye.
Right.
Opposed? It's carried. Okay. Public comment. So is there anybody here who would like to make a public comment before we start our meeting on any of the agenda?
To work with the clean at the bottom.
So recycling is on our agenda. Is that all you wanted to make public comment on?
I'm the portion.
No, but is that what you wanted to make? Just want to make sure that it's on there. Okay, so recycling is on the agenda. Any other public comment?
I would just renew my comment that I would like reports, and if people are going to be speaking, that something be included in the package. So public can make informed comments. And the recycling coordinator is a good example. That's it.
Comments? Any other public comment? Okay, then we'll move on to financial reports, Ed.
So actually, those are Amber's reports and they're in the packet. I don't have any comments on them.
Anybody have any questions on those? Ed? Okay, Ed, do we usually make a motion to approve this?
No.
Just kind of a report. Okay. Clerk's report, Amber.
The election went really good. Went really smooth. And I also attended the Up North Summit, and they were very excited to have someone from Onekama up in Escanaba. And I learned a lot. There was first training up there, and it was really nice. Yes, that's all I got. The election and that for now.
The election's a lot.
Yes,
What is the election?
it went good.
How many voters did we have?
We had 147 come through here, and there was 268. Yeah, she would know. She was on Essex County Board at AV.
How many early voters do you know?
I did not get a total on that, but Judith could probably tell us on that too. I do know there was only,
That's what I started to do.
no, he's talking the 9 days early
10 days.
voting.
Where I was, there were 68.
And that was out of all of them.
That's not all, that's 813.
Right, so for Onekama Township, if we can, maybe.
I heard, yeah, there's about 6 is what the count I got.
So just for the public to know, that costs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars per vote to be able to staff that early voting. And there's nothing anybody in this room can do about that, but it's a problem for clerks all across the state when you have as much absent voting as you can, and you got the ability to come to election day, having 9 days of early voting is a huge cost to the taxpayers of the state.
Amen.
You said that well.
Anything else, Amber?
No,
And Ed Treasurer's report.
Yeah, so my written report was in the packet. Interest rates are continuing to hold, getting about 5.4% on our daily yield for the surplus funds that we have. We may see some movement from the Fed coming up with maybe a quarter rate point cut by the end of the year, kind of depending on what the economy and inflation numbers do. Summer tax collection is in full swing. We collected almost $1 million in July, and that's only accelerating. And the audit was finalized or was conducted on June 13th or 14th. The report's being finalized. We speak, we should get that back shortly.
Anything else?
No, that's all I have, unless there's questions.
Any members of the board have a question?
Nope.
Move on, Mr. Benz.
Noon. We had our board meeting on the 16th last month. Had our audit was presented to us, and the one word you want to hear is unmodified. So that was good. No changes. We've got a fund balance of 31.2%, which is 4.8 million. One point of concern though is our pension liability. The state starts to flag it to get to 60%. And MERS is I could go on at great length why I dislike MERS, but that's the pension program we're in. And depending on what the market's doing, one time not too long ago, we were in low 70s and now we're at 60.6% funded. Janie McNabb from Networks Northwest came before us for an annual report. And they do a lot of the employee development and training, and they've got a budget of $10.5 million. One point that she brought up was they do a lot of training for Department of Corrections. They trained 215 people, and that helps keep recidivism down, which I thought that was pretty significant. That's a positive thing. We passed a child care fund for the state, which is just shy of $500,000. And one positive to that is the state is going from 50% to 75% funding on a child care fund. But having said that, there are more strings that come along with that. Current budget has changed from then. As far as our deficit, we're down to around 103,000, but that's without any raises, which 103,000 deficit is not much for us. We're somewhere generally in the mid 100s to up to in the mid to upper 200s, just shy of 3. At any rate, we've got some meetings coming up. Next Tuesday is a meeting. We have our general meeting. We're going to have a budget study in regard to that as well. So we've got to get the budget finalized and passed prior to October 1. Congratulations on Onekama Township. We've got the recycling bins moved. That's good. Any negative comments?
People have a hard time, 100 yards to the east.
I've got one call on that, but
We have a map and we put it on the list.
I got
Yeah.
30.
pardon?
I got 30.
That's, no.
I think I got
Pretty
about that
close.
much too.
Anyway, no, I think it's gonna work out for the meantime. Opioid cases. We've received about 400,000 of around $2 million in settlement funds. 3 of the companies, I understand, filed for bankruptcy as well. There's a lot of strings involved in that. We have to form a committee based on what the state tells us we have to form the committee by and what those dollars can and can't be spent on. So that's ongoing. It's been a moving target. We haven't spent any of the 400,000 that we have so far. I want to say that's probably the biggest part of it. A lot of time on that recycling fund. I think I'm more happy to see that done than you guys. Any questions?
Well, now there can be more parking for micro midget wrestling. So
I'll be there.
sounds like it's gonna be a sold out crowd.
That was surprising.
Is there any update relative to the airport?
We've been working angles on that. We do not have anything reported yet from DOT. We're still waiting on them. I've got someone from Senator Peters' staff in town tomorrow. We're going to have a meeting for a few hours. And that definitely is one thing to come. So no movement on contour. Hopefully we'll get there. That's it. Anybody else? All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. First item, Portage Lake Bible Camp Road vacation.
He's gonna take it away from here.
So, let me introduce myself. My name is Mark Ikes and I am the executive director at.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I was, beginning of that, Cindy, I was, the pastor at Faith Covenant Church in Manistee for about 13 years, left for a short period of time, came back to take over for Dave Nesberg about 4 years ago and during COVID, which was a lot of fun, having to close down camp for the first time in 74 years. But and now we've run into a couple of other things along the way, including this plat issue. So about, just to give you a little bit of background, about 2016, we put forward the idea of creating or building a new dining hall. The dining hall we have now is was built in 1968, and we've outgrown it. There's a lot of things in it that need to be replaced and redone. We've been working on gaining funds during COVID. Everything kind of shut down in terms of funding, and got funding back online, redesigned, we're ready to go. And our builder, Mike Zimmerman, went to do what we have done for our existing 78 years, come here and get our building permits. And apparently, after talking to people, no, that's changed. So we now have to go to the county to get a land use permit and then come back and get the building permit. But the county has said, no, you can't build, you can't have a land use permit until you vacate the plat that is currently on the site of our site and 4 neighbors to the west of ours. Even though we've gotten building permits for all the years of our existence, this is now, we need to have this plat from 1909 removed. You can see that, that's the first page there. That's the plat there, and has 40 some sites, 5 roads and whatnot. Now that process is fairly straightforward. We get a lawyer. We retained Richard Wilson, who I know that you all know, because I think he's represented the township before. And we get the plat redrawn, we submit it, and also go through the legal process of identifying those people affected by that, and then bring it before the judge acts. However, the caveat to this whole thing is that one street that you'll note called Eagle Street. And the reason why that becomes an issue is because it ends in the lake. Now, this is not a ingress egress that has been used by the public. It actually can't be used while we have minors spending the night with us throughout our summer, throughout the year. And that may have been why this road was just simply ignored for 115 years of its existence, because there has been a Camp Delight prior to our existence, Portage Lake, while we have been there since 1946. But we currently have 8 buildings, which you can see if you take a look. If you take a look at the page with the yellow on it, we currently have 8 buildings on that road. And all of the other buildings have been built there on this plat as well. Now, we had thought, you talked to old timers and they said, oh yeah, we got that road vacated. I've talked to dozens and dozens and dozens of people, been to the Register of Deeds, Department of Equalization, and whatnot. We even have, if you look at that one page right there, it's an assessor's map. It's actually has the word vacated on that Eagle Street Road. And there's all kinds of other indicators that it was vacated as well. You have those little dots and arrows that link parcels, and supposedly, according to Michigan law, you're not allowed to link parcels across the road. We also have three neighbors, the farthest neighbors to our west, the Mortensons, like Walton, Pete Giles. They have all had that particular road vacated off their properties, but not Pete and Cindy and us. So all that to say, there's a lot of indicators that suggest, and a lot of memory, collective memory, that said that was done, but it wasn't. There's no record anywhere of any of that. And as I said, we currently have 8 buildings on the road, but it's never been recognized ever. I think there has been some conversation about the fact that, yes, that has been used as an ingress egress. It actually hasn't. People will say, oh, well, we have ice fishermen using it. No, ice fishermen will, they will come to the office, or they'll come to my house, which is at the far east end of the property. And they'll say, hey, can we ice fish? And we say, absolutely. In fact, as many times as we can say yes to Onekama Township, to whether it's a prom or a baccalaureate or a gathering, whatever it is, that has always been our policy. It was Dave's policy prior to me, and ice fishermen, same way. When we can't say yes is when we have kids on property. According to our licensing and regulatory affairs, they say all of that, any sort of access that you might have on a piece of paper is superseded by your licensure to have kids on site. And so that's the only time where we have to say no. But even then, I said, come walk across my property, come walk across my, which is camp property, come walk across my lawn, or maybe just, since we got kids on this end, park on that end and go out at the west end of the property, or whatever it might be. So it's not this road end that has been used. In fact, that ends right at the corner of our seawall. And as you can see by that last picture there, that road runs through our dining hall and ends in our seawall, and you can't access anything there. There's nothing to access it. So it's not exactly accurate that has been used. People have come onto property and onto the ice all kinds of times. There's probably, since I've been here for 4 years, in this capacity, probably only twice that I've said, can you come back tomorrow? And that's worked out. And again, we absolutely love having this opportunity to allow people to use our access to Portage Lake. Having said all of that, we are in a conundrum because we want to build this building. I think it's going to be an incredible asset for us as a camp. I think it's also going to be an incredible asset for Onekama in general. Again, every time that our policies, anytime Onekama says yes, or says, can we do something? The answer is, as much as we can possibly make it happen, is yes. And for free when we're not losing money on the deal. And this also provides an opportunity for a space of up to 300-ish people. We could probably fit as many as 350 people in that building, the new space, and it provides access for Onekama to use that space if that becomes something that's needed. It's the only place in Onekama that I know of that you could house that many people for a particular event. And again, we want to be the best neighbors that we possibly can be. So essentially, what we are asking as a camp is for you all to vote to vacate Eagle Street, which includes that road end on Portage Lake. I know full well that this has not been something that you have done, willfully or by a vote very often, or if at all. However, I will say that this has never been used as a public access. It can't be based on our licensure. And also the township has been acting as if it didn't exist anyway by giving us building permits along the way for all of these years. And even Camp Delight prior to that had many buildings on the property before we even came along. So that would be the first thing. The second thing was we are going to be redrawing this map has already been redrawn And we would love to see the township board agree to the amendment of the plat that takes that reconfigures these various lots into one larger parcel. For all kinds of reasons, but that's the process by which we can get. So I'm open to any questions.
So,
Go ahead.
there's other streets in there besides Eagles. Clearly, either were vacated and there's no record of it starting to use. I mean, we should clean everything up all at once. If that's the intention.
And that's the part of the larger process, right? So we've already talked to Richard Wilson, we've already hired the Spicer Group to redraw this whole thing without the streets, without the plats, without the lot lines, everything. The caveat is we have this one road that ends in the lake. That's sort of a asterisk that the township and the DNR have, I guess I call it jurisdiction, but it probably more appropriate to call it legal interest in that particular ingress egress. And so that becomes a separate issue, if that makes sense. So if we can, if the township would vote to vacate that, obviously then we have to go to the DNR, and then it becomes a much different process. I was talking to Dave about this a couple of weeks ago, and essentially the process is we have to bring suit. I hate to say that, but that's just the process to all these different entities. They have a time to, much like this process, have a time to weigh in on it. And then we bring our new map without roads, without the lot lines, to the judge, and the judge rules on it, and then it goes to the public record.
So what specific action are you requesting on number 4?
I'm requesting that the board vote to vacate Eagle Street, which includes the road end at Portage Lake. And I don't know if this happens at the same time, but the second part would be then to vote to agree to the amendment of the plat, which would then take all of our parcels and essentially put them into one.
So Eagle Street, as you said, your neighbors to the west, apparently they think that's been vacated. They have record that that's.
Yeah, and I have actually records.
We probably need either Spicer and our attorney or somebody to bring like a formal resolution to do that, so we have the right description. We understand what it is, maybe there's an attachment for the map or whatever. And would it be too late to act on that at the next meeting if we could put?
Oh, no,
information together?
we actually have all of that, ready to go.
I just want to make sure we're doing the
Yeah.
proper
We'll need
procedure and we have
resolution.
all the right stuff that we need to do. But from what you're saying, I'm amenable to doing that. That has never been used as a public access. Your buildings have been there forever. It's very different than our other road ends that we use, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But-
We couldn't do one resolution to vacate them all at the same time, or they have to be done individually?
That's a good question. I think this one becomes, you probably could, that would be just fine. But I think this one is a special case
Because of the water.
because of the
That
water
makes
access.
Okay.
So that would be a question for lawyers to say, no, it has to take 2 steps, or no, you can go ahead and do that all at once. I don't know.
Because I know I've been here several times and I didn't even realize these were roads, so.
Well, they're not. And in fact, some folks said, well, you had a county road through there. And that got, closed off, vacated and all that. That's not on this. That was the county put that on top of the plat sometime later, in the, I don't know, 30s or 40s, I don't even know, but. And that was taken care of, in what, 2002, 4, 8, I don't know, somewhere there, 2008.
And maybe this is an attorney question, but would we be vacating it from just their property? Or is that something you have to get all those neighbors
Well,
on?
that's a great question. So we have added all 4 of our neighbors to this whole,
Okay.
suit, sorry. But the neighbor that it affects the most are, Cindy and Doug and Giles. Because according to all the records that I can find, and I've been looking, they're the only ones of the 4 that haven't had that section of property vacated. And I know that's true because he wanted to build a shed. or maybe a fence or something, and he couldn't because there's a road there. So, yeah. I think it's a friend, he was wanting to build a fence. So between him and his cousin. Which case, fine.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
Kind of a related but separate question. So is there a way, or again, is it an issue that you already discussed? If it were vacated, to somehow create an easement separately, maybe in a different location for access?
So two answers to that question. One is, there's never been an easement really. I mean,
No, there hasn't been an
Functionally.
easement, but
on our property ever. And maybe that's because it was a camp that housed miners before us. It's been a camp that's housed miners now. And so, there's public access because we are just want to have people come and use the space as much as humanly possible. So, but there's never really been in its history, public access. So I guess those would be my two things. And the other thing is, honestly, we have a cabin in front of, or a gathering space in front of every, foot of our property there. So to try to find that, I don't even know where that would be, if that makes sense.
and I'm aware there's not an easement. I was asking if it would be possible.
Yeah. Sure. But again, even if we did, I don't know that it can be used because of our licensure with the state, who have been told, that license supersedes, what's on a plaque, so.
Have you, I guess I just came in, so did the previous clerk look and see if there was any minutes or anything on these? Did Shelley look at it?
Yes,
to
she's
see?
been
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I'm like, it's so weird that that says vacated and there's nothing on there, so if she did it,
So
then.
that is an assessor's map from, we think, maybe the nineties. We're not exactly sure. But anyway, there's not very many records of this space going back before that at the Department of Equalization. And so Shelley looked, she didn't find anything. I had Register of Deeds look like 4 or 5 or more times. I was the Department of Equalization, they looked through everything they had, and so even though it says it, I don't know why it says it.
Okay, yeah, that's why I'm like, well, maybe I should look, but if
Yeah.
she looked, okay, good.
Because that would have made things infinitely easier.
So if we had our attorney talk to Richard and the two of them come up with the appropriate resolution for consideration at the next meeting, that would be sufficient.
That'd be great. Yeah.
You're talking from vacating to the west. 1, 2, 3, 4, plus all the years.
Yeah,
That road clear,
in essence, yes, it really only needs
does
to
that
be,
road go beyond that west
no,
side?
no,
It stops at that blacktop road.
correct. It actually stops prior to that. The Murphys live on the Blacktop Road there. And it doesn't extend into their property for whatever reason.
Okay.
I don't know why.
I think it's long overdue.
Dave?
I'd just like to express, 2 concerns. The first is there are only 2 public access sites on the entire south side of Portage Lake. And this is one of them. It seems, whether it has been used or not, it seems like a valuable, designation to, casually just give up. And, I understand that buildings have been built on top of it and, that's who's to blame for that, but let's make it right. The second item, from an assessing standpoint, I would have some concern about, if the parcel was to be combined into one. There are parts of the Bible camp which are the Bible camp, and there are parts of it that are just land. And, assessing can be treated differently for unused, undeveloped property, regardless of whether it's owned by a Bible camp or not.
Can I make a comment?
Well, you know what? I'm
Quick
gonna
one.
let you, I'm gonna let
Sure.
you since I opened it.
I'd like to speak in support of this vacation. Also like to say that since there's a building across it, and that road has essentially been abandoned, so I think it would be a waste of everyone's time and money if somebody really wanted to fight it. I'd also point out in terms of road ends that have been vacated, Second Street and Third Street in Williamsport down by the channel were vacated within the last 20 years or so. So there's precedent.
Sandy, since you opened it.
I'm gonna do it.
Not your sorry.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, I was debating it when I saw his hand go up, because I was gonna say at the beginning of the meeting, except for this happened so fast and I didn't know I was chairing it. It was like to say, hey, kids, my style is totally different than David's. And, you know, public comment is public comment for that reason, rather than having it turn into a dialogue. After this, not the rest of the night and save it till the end, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So mine that follows what Dave's point was, and I would say that there are no current plans within Parks and Rec to use that, but there have been discussions of eventually having a water trail. And a water trail are points of interest throughout the lake where you can canoe from place to place to place. And one of our biggest challenges is that there's nothing on the south side of the lake. So I would go back to what I think your question was leading to about an easement. As you move forward with this, would there be some piece of that property, be it the road end or something other that's appropriate, where a picnic table could be put so that people who could access it, stop there and then move on and not really move somewhere else?
I'll just say that's because of our licensing, we can't have the public on our property without our knowing about it, because we house minors. That's what licensing and regulatory says. So I understand what you're saying, and no, once you give up a road end, there's no private citizen that's going to come and say, out of the goodness of my heart, I'm going to give you back this. It's just not. So I understand that thing, but this isn't something that has been used in 115 years. And it honestly can't be used in the way that you're describing that, because we have to know who is there. I am legally required to know who's on our property, because we house minors. So it's not the same situation as just some other regular public access.
But a fence could be put up in another section, could be given to the township to put something. So those are things I'd like.
Can I just suggest we board hold a special hearing, public hearing on this, a special meeting, because it seems like there's a lot of discussion points to be brought up, a lot of things to be done. And we have a pretty full agenda.
And we're not gonna, I think you can build a consensus here that we're not gonna make a decision on this tonight, other than to at least accept that we'll move forward with it. But you all may want to beg Dave to be at the rest of the meetings, because I usually don't allow it just to happen, and I'm probably gonna follow that the rest of this meeting now, so.
I just want to
Sorry.
say one thing too. If anybody has those public comments, put them in letters and I'll make sure that they'll get out to the board. It is so much, I know personally, I love it when people write letters and are just, hey, this is what I support, this is what.
But in all fairness, this information wasn't available.
No, I meant for the next
Oh.
meeting, since we're not doing anything now, I know everybody wants to speak, we're not making any actions, but write those letters so that we can have that information for the next one, and the board has it well ahead of time.
Okay, so we don't have to take any action at this point, and we're kind of throwing it back at attorneys, correct, or at least that seems
So-
to be.
As an action, you're asking if we would essentially have Richard speak to your lawyer and.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give Tom a heads up and the two of them can just dialogue
That's great.
and, probably work through Dave when he gets back and figure out.
Okay.
And again, I think what I heard too is having everything put into some sort of resolution so we know what we're actually dealing with.
Yeah.
From a language viewpoint. too.
Understand.
And let me ask one more question. And I know you've done a ton of research. And we have some records that may indicate that that might have been vacated at some possible point in the past. The state doesn't have any records of that though, as far as you're aware of. So that could have just been an assessor error on the map potentially. And we don't have records, or at least that we could find, so.
Or it's under a name
Different.
of a suit that wasn't, like it came from a board member or something like that, but I haven't found that yet.
One thing I was wondering, because I heard a comment about other portions had been vacated. A lot of times when that you have those kind of documents, there's reference to whether something else has been vacated. And so I'm curious if don't know, but might be worth looking at.
I can look in our records here and just kind of see what I find too.
Anything else on that?
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item. So we'll probably have that on our agenda next month. That's what you're saying. Unless we follow some other process prior to it.
Sure.
Okay. FOIA policy updated form.
The only thing with that is we've updated the ones that are on the website. I just want everybody to know those forms are on the website. If you want to fill a FOIA form out, it just makes it easier. That's all we got for that, just kind of a general thing.
We're looking at later. So the next item would be BSNA integrated payment agreement.
Yeah, so. Before we migrated from the old version of our enterprise software, to the new version, we were going to move forward with a payment provider called Point and Pay. But since we've migrated to the cloud, and because Point and Pay didn't do anything on our request, they were still processing. I went and canceled that because BSNA has a new integrated payment processing platform that works right in the software and is seamless. And we can certainly do this on the next meeting, but there's an agreement that needs to be signed in order to go and move forward with that. So we've been waiting a while, but I just wanted to get that. So this didn't get into the packet, but I've got it and we can certainly put it in the packet for the next thing, but I just wanted to give the board a heads up. It's a very straightforward agreement. A few things I have to fill in, but it'll basically allow people to pay the tax bills online. It'll allow them to, well, for us, it's basically just gonna be, but we can also then accept credit cards. Yeah, so it's a nice upgrade for the taxpayers, but, there's an agreement that we have to sign in order to do. So I'll make sure that that agreement gets on in the next agenda packet, and then we can, there's no rush for that.
Ed? Ed Bradford? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Al.
Okay. I forgot what it was I wanted to say to you, but clicking on it, it wouldn't do anything.
You can call me later if you want.
Okay, I remember.
Okay, so we'll move on, or you can text me out. Reports of boards and committees, fire. Pardon me, we moved the full consent agreement. You may not have been here at the beginning. We, amended the agenda that can be in closed session, and we moved both closed sessions to the end of the meeting. So that if people wanted to leave, they could. Those that want to remain until we come out of closed session, of course, can stay, but that way it doesn't require everybody giving reports to it. So sorry for the confusion there.
So I submitted my report
The only thing I would like to add is that we're working on the verbiage on the ordinance, and just ask that it would be, once we get that, we'll just send that to, the council to get their blessing.
Tom needs to review it first.
Yeah, legal counsel. And then once the next meeting, we can maybe vote it in or whatever. Instead of waiting until the next meeting to give you what I'm gonna write up and then you approve it to go to Tom. Just do it and send it. It's
Yeah,
just,
I think the point is, when an ordinance comes to us, we'd like to have it to be complete in the form that it's gonna be adopted. There may be changes still. The board might not agree with that, but by having the subcommittee work through all that, hopefully anticipate a bunch of the questions and ask and answer them in the ordinance, then it's just a smoother process.
yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's the only thing I didn't put in my report. So other than that, everything is good on the fire street.
Thank you.
Assessor.
I didn't receive the report for it.
Excellent. Okay, roads, Midway.
We have this contract. I think you guys already discussed it it was supposed to be brought up at the special meeting as well. This is the one they already did the work on. They've just told me to bring it to you guys.
First of all, we all approve that before we pay it. For the contract. deal.
And if you wanna wait until Dave's here for the next meeting,
Did we,
no?
I think we go ahead, my personal, we approve the contract. The work has been done, we own the money, let's pay the full shot. We have to negotiate to finish 11 mile, let's negotiate before we start 11 miles. Until not, we can afford to do this now.
well, so the question I had last, or the comment last time is that because the board had an expectation that a different method was going to be used, that I had no problem paying up to what that cost would be, but was not comfortable paying the full contract. Now, I have since heard that there was some reason that could not be performed the way the board originally anticipated, and I don't have any other information. So, could
I
you
did talk to
explain that to
Dave
me?
because he knew he was gonna be not at the meeting. He talked to Brad. A couple of things. One, the road commission acknowledges that they screwed up and didn't get that to us before the work was completed. So whether that was between the transition between Brad and the old manager or something else. The chip seal, that's the standard type of treatment, the base of that road was deemed to be not sufficient to be able to support that. It would be a kind of waste of money, wouldn't have the longevity that we normally have. So it needed an overlay in order to beef up the thickness of that is what Brad. That's why that treatment was done. And I did go back and look at some of the road commission manager reports that we get from time to time. And in some of them, as I recall, it didn't really say the treatment, but there were a couple of ones last fall that mentioned that it was gonna be an overlay, so, we didn't catch that. Not that it would have made a difference, because we should have gotten it at the time, but that's kind of where it stands. And Dave suggested, I think, that maybe because the work had been done, we consider paying it and then maybe try to get some kind of a payment plan on the next paving project. To kind of help if we have budgetary issues or needs. I've been out and drove it since it got done and since they've redone the boulders, and I think it's well done, and I think it's a nice upgrade. But they said the chip seal wouldn't work for that particular.
And I'm gonna assume you agree with that based on the experience you have.
There were some areas that definitely wouldn't do it. I think part of it could have held up just fine, but there was sections of, particularly once you get around that corner, between the boat launch and the far corner, more midway is that stretch would have been, I think, problematic. So the middle section, the two end sections, even going around that corner. First part of it, when you get closer to Portage Point Drive, it's a little higher. But when you get more towards the boat launch, it gets lower, and when you have high water, I think it kind of just to stabilize a little bit, so. Yeah, I think it was probably okay. It just, the process was kind of busted on it.
Now, is there any additional work in the contract to be done? Because I've also heard a lot of comments, complaints about areas that, you know, may require some fill or,
So I know they put gravel on the shoulders. I haven't heard any of that. I'm sure if
this
there
was a one.
needs to be more gravel. There is one, there's that one really sharp corner on Andy's Point, and everybody cuts it off on the inside. And they did put a little more gravel there, but I think it needs, that probably does need more gravel, but I'm sure the road commission does come and do that. But the rest of it, I thought was pretty good. I don't know about the view of that.
Yeah. Shading whether it was gouged or anything.
Do you want to look this over? And we can wait on it.
No, I
If you-
saw that.
Okay, as long as you.
That it's just that
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
for a second.
I'll support.
So there's a motion by Bob, a second by Ed to assuming approving.
And pay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, Harbor Commission.
The DNR still does not have a permit to drag. And so I think what we'll do is wait until next spring. Hopefully they don't have it by then, so. Boats are going in and out. I've had one call is all, so. I don't think there's any problem this year.
Cindy, can we go back to the rules?
Sure. So
I don't remember which one it is, the public access that goes to the pier right off of the break at the Langland Park, kind of jogs around. It's like,
Yeah,
it goes right in front of the harbor.
Yes.
When you get down to the pier, the part that you walk out to, the left side of that is where the water all goes. And it's got a really deep ravine gully right there, and it's getting worse. You're at the next meeting, could you maybe see if they could fill that in and restore it or do something? Cause it's starting to kind of come back into where you park a little bit. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Anyway, it's just because that's where the water goes. We've got some heavy rain.
yeah. I'll address that.
were you done with Harbor Commission report? Were you done with Harbor Commission report?
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure. Parks and Recreation.
The only thing, other than the minutes that have been posted from last month, is an update on the Trails project. Everybody knows the board funded the feasibility study of the Trails project, and that is underway. The genesis of this is it's part of the 5-year plan. The current proposal is that it would go from Hardin Park, which is John Street, just this side of the fairgrounds, and go up to Portage Point Road. The feasibility study has looked at it in great detail. And the concept is that from 8th to Lake Street, which is just on the other side of the park, it will be both walking path and a trail. And then north to Portage Point Road, it'll just be a trail. We're getting a lot of discussion and feedback negative about it. And so the next move is to present all of this to the public. So I'm letting you know that we'll be scheduling a public session, hopefully in the next week to 10 days before the summer residents leave, either here or at the Bar Center, just to lay that plan out for everybody and to begin gathering all the feedback that we need. So that, you know, if this goes forward, both you and the village will have all the input you need to make that decision. We're getting a lot of positives in terms of funding and we're getting a lot of positives in terms of the entities that support it, including both the village and the township, PLA, the school district, the library, MDOT, the river band, the Indians, the conservation district, et cetera. So everybody's behind it. We know that there's going to be some objections, but we're at a point now where it needs to go in front of the public, gather all that information, and then move forward from there. That's all I got.
Yeah, and one thing, I want to tell you guys, you did an amazing job at Onekama Days with the scavenger hunt and all of you guys, that was amazing. I took my family out for it and it was great to go to all the parks and you guys did a great job. That was.
Michelle deserves all the credit. I just told you.
Oh,
Michelle.
They did a
Yeah,
great
she did.
job.
You did a great job.
We got some more coming. New and different things to do for the next go around.
Okay, any questions of that? Okay, planning commission.
Planning Commission, met in July and, approved a special use permit for a cell tower on Joseph Road. It will be 200-foot tower. Will cover approximately a 6-mile radius. So that'll cover the entire lake. B5G, it's a Verizon tower, but it will have space on it for co-location from other carriers if they approach the owner of the tower. There was some question about the tower and couldn't we put up a shorter tower? And the answer was yes, we could put up a shorter tower, but instead of one 200-foot tower, we'd have to put up 500 or 600-foot towers. The signal strength dissipates that quickly on a shorter tower. Just Historic Planning Commission, the ZBA met last week to grant a variance for Todd Mallison on Crescent Beach Road, across from the Bible camp. It was somewhat interesting. A parcel his size is allowed 2 1,200 square foot accessory buildings. And he was asking for 1 2,400 square foot building. The difficulty he faced is the topography of his property, because he has an existing lease of 5 of his 20 acres for an oil well drilling. And the oil well people have in their contract the ability to add 4 more wells, and if they did that, it would cut off all vehicular access to his about 13 of his acres to the south. And so we granted that variance with the stipulation that his 2,400 square foot building would be the only accessory building he would be allowed. He wouldn't be allowed a second 1,200 square foot building. And also, at least 3 of the planning commissioners have expressed interest in going to the citizen planner training over. That will be held, I believe, at Dixon Township, and it's through MSU Extension. What I have.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Maybe a comment. I do not have a good feel or understanding, probably partially because I haven't read everything that you guys get, as to what current status and situation is for Portage Point Inn and their special use permit. And there's a number of issues in my view that need to be addressed. I know we've talked about these before, but I don't have a good feel as to where that's at. I would like to get a written report from the planning commission and or the zoning both of the county as to what all the open outstanding issues are with the Portage Point Inn and how they're going to be addressed, hopefully, or what the path forward is on that. I understand there's a lawsuit or a settlement agreement that might complicate some of that, but I think it would be really good not only for the board, but for the public to see where that stands. Because I get questions all the time and I'm tired of getting the question. And I'd like to be able to answer them, but I just don't know what the stand.
A short, answer. I've spoken with Supervisor Meister. We would like to, have a sit down with Mr. Gazan and probably our attorney, in September, October timeframe to discuss, where that special use permit is, how we can perhaps, look for a, more definitive timeline. And, and get some answers for people who sort of live on the rumor.
And I think that's great. I'm glad that's happening, but I think what we have right now is a special use permit with, as I see it, probably multiple outstanding violations. So that's where I get the questions from, and the question is, okay, we do this 2 months from now, we have a sit down, those violations or perceived violations, or maybe they're not violations, need to be addressed as part of that conversation. If he wants to get a new special use permit or amend it to kind of reflect conditions on the ground or whatever, wherever that goes, it's fine. But I do think that we have to, we're working under a permit and we need to make sure that that's being followed unless there's a active path.
And we're aware of some of the, violation issues that are current.
So what's the path forward then? We should have more answers in September then?
You should have more answers in September.
Okay, but can we get a written after that meeting happens, what the status is? Excellent. Appreciate that.
And I don't know if it's the same meeting, but I know that, David had asked me about being in a meeting for that, because one of the things I did when I went to my first planning commission meeting and we had, the hearing canceled. I was very confused when I was looking at what was being proposed. So in the meantime, I don't have the special use permit, but I ended up getting the entire, years of recorded condominium documents and amendments, because for my own peace of mind, I wanted to read through it. Because I couldn't I can't understand how there are things that have occurred. So I wanted to read that, so I think it should be included.
And would it be helpful, and I can get a copy of what I think is the current permit, I think I may have one or Amber.
I have the current permit. I have.
So I would like to read through that, and then if I have questions or comments, should I send them to the two of you to hopefully be addressed at that meeting in September, or at least get answers on? That would be excellent. If you have that and it's all handy in like one PDF or multiple PDFs, that would be great if you could send it on, or I could get it. I may have a copy, but it'd be good just to get it.
I would actually like a copy of that also.
I have the DeVoe special use permit too, 96.
Yeah, it'd be good to have that too.
Is that for planning commission,
I think it's
board of review? There, a report.
board review was held. It's primarily clerical housekeeping issues and some poverty exemption applications.
All right, recycling.
I draft, Charlie draft copy, of the new contract for the next 2 years. There's been a lot of changes made because of everything that's happened in the Onekama Township in the last year with recycling. So that's why it's now 3 pages long. The prices are still $18 a year per improved property. We do, and there's also she has the new copies that are ready for signature. So this is just, I know you guys probably don't want this month. And we'll be back next month.
So is this the same agreement that we would have had
Now,
30 days ago?
yeah, if it would have been approved by then.
I know that the way we have a subcommittee for recycling. So what will happen is somebody will meet on this first. And then make whatever recommendations.
Okay, and then there's also another, paper that has information for the last year that we need a signature.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that.
I brought it today,
Oh,
What is the paper that needs the signature?
just saying from, with moving, not moving, moving here, moving there, and everything from the last year.
so you're not talking about the investors, but she didn't.
You did sign that one.
No, we did
No,
a whole new.
we have a
one.
whole new amendment that's been signed.
And where is that?
With the county, the police signed it.
Okay, cause I just got
So-
this one recently.
Yeah, no, that wasn't acceptable, so we redrafted it and it went back and forth between us and Lisa for a while. And we approved it at our last special meeting, and Dave Meister got verbal from Lisa that Jeff Dons has the ability to sign that, even though there were some changes, so. I don't know if Dave has signed it and sent it to Lisa, but that's where I would either check with Dave or check with Lisa.
Okay, cause I got that fairly recently ago.
Well, and the only reason I would think it's been signed is Jeff has now mentioned that's behind us. We got that dealt with, so.
So
I don't-
another thing we also have in the works is, when you guys were gonna purchase a property on, John Street next to the. We had a grant. That grant, we will find out if we got in the next probably 45 days.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask about that. What does that grant actually, can we get a copy of the grant application? I never received
It's
it.
about 80 pages long.
Can we get a copy?
I will have to get it from our county's grant writer.
That'd be excellent if we could do that.
But there's a lot of, you guys wanted building their improvement to the roads, which the road commission required at that point in time. With the new regime, some of those items have changed. Putting in a facility that can move into part 115 with the new regulations. Will be starting to implement in the next couple years. So this would be a little bit bigger facility that would also include other things besides old recycling.
Yeah, it would be, I think, important for us to actually see what's in that grant, and then I think you'll know in 45 days whether you got that or not.
Yeah, roughly, they said sometime mid-September, but that might mean mid-September could be from the 5th to the 30th, yeah.
So the current interlocal agreement, I think, expires December 31st, is that correct?
Mhm. However, we need to have the new ones done earlier than December 31st. So that everything can get put into.
Step, didn't our amendment say that amendment basically would last till.
We need to meet subcommittee and probably chat with Lisa and Dave. I'm not inclined to approve it, not inclined to approve this. Personally. And I'm not inclined to approve anything until we know whether we get that grant, and then I think we can have some better conversations about what's gonna happen. Because the temporary midterm site over there, I think it's a really good location, and the county already owns the property, we paid to improve it. I think if we get the grant, we need to have some conversations about putting that money in it. But that's a conversation, a lot longer.
Oh, yeah.
And I was gonna say, in all fairness to you, if you haven't seen the amendment subcommittee draft, we basically did the amendment so that that might not have been the one that got changed. There was one change made by the county. It basically took the place of us signing this.
I
Until,
don't think so.
Well, we can certainly have conversations on that. That was the intent. It was kind of an extension until we figured stuff out. But
Right.
Carl, let me ask you this. You said we charge $18, right, for residential approved parcel? Is there the ability under PA 69 that's consistent amongst all the townships? Is there the ability for one township to charge more if they want to get additional services or have something that's a little bit different? Or does it have to be 18 throughout every township that participates? Because each township signs a separate interlocal agreement.
Right, right. So I mean. The PA, like, the PA 69 would be 18. If you wanted to, like, there's a couple townships that they pay the 18 out of their. They don't charge an addition, there's not additional on taxes that comes out of that program. So you can always put additional on your tax roll for it. But if you wanna provide additional services, that would be outside of the realm of PA 69. If that makes any sense.
Well, let me just cut through it. The county asserts in several of their documents that it's the township that's responsible for the location in the site. Right? That's how it was started out. But it's not in the interlocal agreement. It doesn't say that anywhere. So I understand why you wanted to change this, why the county wanted to change this to say, yeah, the township's responsible. So that's gonna be a discussion point. And my question that I'm getting to is, if the township residents want the recycling, let's say the county levied the whole $25 instead of 18 in Onekama Township only, and that money went to help offset the cost of the site, which may be county-owned property, or maybe we buy something or wherever that ends out. Is that possible? I think to me, that's an important question to get answered.
That would be a question I'd have to take to my committee and,
Well, I don't think it's a committee question. I think it's a legal question. I think under
Yeah.
PA 69, can that happen? And I would say if it's a separate interlocal agreement and there's a reason to have a higher charge, it's not paying for the core services that all the townships are getting. I don't see why you couldn't consider doing that. Maybe there's case law or something or guidance from the state that would preclude that, but I haven't seen.
some of it is, if you're in PA 69 and let's say, you live in Bear Lake Township, which isn't very far from here. And you don't want to go to Bear Lake Township to their site because it's only a mile to Onekama's site. They could do that.
Sure.
If you're charging your people another $7 in addition to what Bear Lake is charging their people, and you have people coming from Bear Lake, then that's somewhat unfair to your citizens.
If you consider the additional money only going towards the core service of picking up the bins and emptying them, I'm saying if there's site improvements. That's what I'm getting at.
So a lot of that, and in there, it talks about, the county, we will help get grants and stuff for site improvements and stuff like that. Because there's right now for recycling, there's a tremendous amount of grants.
And I hope we get this one in 45 days. I would like an answer to that question. I mean, I can pose it to Tom Greer, boss, but he's not an expert in that, whereas the county, it's a county program, so we should be able to provide that answer.
And I'll do some research and stuff,
Okay.
because, the county wanted to keep it at $18 to make it affordable. So, it's been, and they do supplement the cost some.
Well,
So,
I guess that's another question. Is it Does the PA 69 recycling program, the finances of that, does that reside in a separate accounting fund within the county's books and records?
Yes.
Okay. Can we start getting financial reports on that?
Yeah.
I think that would be very helpful for this board to help in decision making as well. I mean, I can look in your audit. Seems like a monthly report would be pretty easy for Lisa to print off and send.
So I will check on that stuff. We have our meeting the fourth Thursday, and I'll do some research and discuss with the members of the board, because they might have some insight to that. You know, I haven't seen, everybody has different experience in recycling, so. We'll go from there.
And here's, Bob had that. Here's an unsigned copy of what we signed.
Could I get that email?
I'm nominated, I was gonna hand it to you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guess he doesn't need it, but it talks about that the addendum kind of keeps the current interlocal agreement in effect until we find a permanent site or
That's the one
the
you
site
signed.
sign.
Yeah,
So that's the one that's not approved.
You signed?
yes, I talked to the county about wanted to get the site and bins there first before we move these. And, I don't know the date, but I know we've talked about it, and I will bring that up.
Ready to go.
So they're helping.
Oh, no.
So it's been a small sample size, Carla, because the site hasn't been improved for all that long, but have you gotten any feedback on it? I mean, I think it's convenient and it's not gonna be muddy and should be easier for PCA to swap that trailer.
Yeah, so I did talk to the seed program who manages the recycling trailer through the school. But I talked to the seeds program in Manistee, their overall, group about doing some improvements to the stairs and stuff, 'cause
They're getting
depending on-
scary.
yeah, they can, yeah, I agree, 100% with that, and I've had several conversations with them about, I've had conversations with the school, and most of those go nowhere, so. Yeah. But,
They're getting money for the trailer at the school.
yes, they do. If. How can I put this? So a trailer like that. In some location. Will hold. They'll get like 5,000, 5 ton, 4 to 5 ton. In Onekama, they get about 2. Swiderski's volunteer and do that, move, take trailer, CA for free. Most of the time, if the cardboard is shipped forward, which is supposed to be a school project, it's done by some of your citizens. But the check still goes.
So let me ask this. I don't have a good feeling or understanding, so. Is the school providing students? I think I heard you say no. It's
I
been,
didn't say no.
okay,
I'm
is the what-
saying, I know that a lot of times citizens are the ones who are moving.
let me ask it differently. Do you know if the school is providing kids to go down?
I do not know that.
What's the seeds program? I'm not
The
familiar with
states,
that.
they provide, training for kids and young adults in different, for different types of jobs. And I don't know everything they do in schools, but they work, with kids to try and give them some skills and community service type items.
So they're potentially a service group or they could fix the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we need to find out directly from the school, are they providing any people to service that trail?
I'll
So-
contact the
Can you
superintendent.
find that out?
I asked
Mary
her.
in the superintendent's office, I believe she's his secretary.
She's actually retired and gone.
Oh,
She's been gone for a couple months now.
okay. She was the one who took care of the seeds program,
I'll follow up on that.
That'd be good to know.
so I'm not sure who the new director is.
And just for the record, the PCA trailer is entirely separate. It's not funded by the county. It's a totally separate voluntary program by PCA and the school.
Right,
So it's not funded by the $18 and,
Nope.
it's got its own set of management issues separate. from your thinking.
yep. Yep, so, I am talking right now with PCA, about, how we can make the whole program better and maybe, see if there's some other entities that might be able to, like, work with them to make it happen. And better manage. I know right now it's only can be used. The only place that it can be funded is school. So, and Manistee just lost theirs when MCC closed. And MCC had an Eagle grant.
I think they resolved that. Yeah.
I know. So anyways, I will come back next month if there's any questions in the interim.
Yeah, if we could just get a copy of that grant from the grant writer, I'm sure he's got a digital copy of that.
Yeah, I just, I'm in Calabar. So,
You can give him my email too, and he can email it directly to me, or either one of us, and I can make sure everybody gets it. I'm sure all of us want to see it.
okay, thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Okay, PLA. I don't think anybody
Yeah.
give a report.
Al, you got anything you want to say about PLA?
Yes.
Oh.
So end of the year, so we're looking for officers to be on the board of directors. We got 4 officers retiring. So we've got some pretty hefty positions available, looking for that interest in it. You've been a good year. We kind of ended it a little bit on the summer concerts and on the Onekama days, those are our big year events. And concerts, the indication is that we did very well there. And then the Onekama days, it looks like most of our events exceeded last year's performances, so we did better. We had more people that helped. We are going to be looking at moving forward with a big county or a big township-wide survey on Onekama days. Trying to get a little bit better feel for what people want to see and what they don't want to see. We expected there was a change this year where the parade was moved to the evening on Saturday. And there was expected to be a torrent of complaints. There were very few complaints about that. I don't know if people just say, yeah, well, that's not going to be parade or they just said a little bit. Do you guys have any comments on that line?
I heard good comments on moving the parade to the evening.
Personally, I loved it because my kids already stay up for fireworks, so having the parade and fireworks was perfect for them.
That's what they most people should. So. And then the fireworks were great. We are gonna look into, no guarantee because we don't know if we can afford it. Whether we go to a smokeless firework, which are the drone lighting. I don't know if you've seen those, but they were just almost as good as regular firework. They don't have a lot of noise and noise. But I think they're gonna be 2 or 3 times more expensive than what we pay $88,000, almost $8,500 for the fireworks. Per year, so very expensive. We got 2 more events coming up, Fall Festival, which we, I think the first weekend of October, we go to the 7th week. And then, Christmas in the next month, which is, happens the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So I don't know what they did in November 20th or something like that, but we'll have the same event at the high school. When they are craft fair and all the things that go with Christmas. That's all I got. I don't know if you all have any questions? Nope. I'm glad to take any of you that volunteer. Now you're retiring.
Yes, I am. You hear that? Retired.
Al, I've contacted Roz and I'm volunteering on a few things for her.
Okay, and I've got to touch base with you on a few things about that as well. You need to tell tomorrow. If you could. Hello,
Yeah. Thanks, Al.
okay,
Okay, next is invasive species. I posted the minutes. As part of the board package, I had forwarded emails from July 15th and July 25th. And also the map that was done. So there are 2 areas that contain starry stonework. It, based on the survey that was done, is approximately 2 acres. Thank you, Ed. The one email of July 15th, you'll see where Bree outlined different control options that would typically be used and those that are not appropriate to starry stonewort. And then the ones that are options, she giving pros and cons for that. After quite a bit of discussion and review of these, the recommendation from Invasive Species Committee, there was a motion made and it was voted 5 in favor, 2 opposed to proceed with the treatment plant with C Clear G for those. And it was chosen primarily, one, it is presumed at this point to be the most effective way to treat it, especially since we have a small area. We do not need any additional permit in place, which not the process, but would delay the treatment plan. And other processes, that was the other one being discussed, could be 10,000 per acre treatment, where the C Clear is, as you can see, estimated to be probably about $750. The one con with the C Clear is it does use a chemical, but the feeling of at least 5 people on the committee was that because it is being used in a fairly small quantity, and based on the recommendations of the information we were provided, felt it was the most effective, not just cost effective, but effective method for controlling it. That is the recommendation from the committee for the board to approve or not approve.
there was also the concern for what's gonna happen if we don't treat it adequately, for half a year or something like that. And I think we decided we don't wanna get into that situation if we can avoid it. That had to do with more of the rapid response.
So I just have a procedural question, and maybe we need to clarify this.
That's probably what I asked you before.
Yeah.
Said it even had to come.
So we approved the budget and the lake manager determines when the optimal time to treat that is, and they did treatments earlier this year that we didn't approve. it's approved as kind of part of the overall management plan, and we want to know in it. And this is great information, but I don't know, I guess we need to decide whether or not our blanket approval at the beginning of the year covers this or not, or whether, I mean, I don't think we want to be in a thing where we have to approve every time they do a treatment.
Well, and
The
so,
original intent was that we made it, it was a blanket. In the invasive species, spent the money, they saw fit.
right, and so, and I would agree, because being new to the committee, when this was here, I said to the committee, I don't know if this has to go to the board or not. So I asked David, David said, that he felt it might need to, then that's when he told me to ask you. And you said if there was some like overarching approval, it was already done. And, you know, no, but otherwise, so then I contacted Bree, and Bree said that she has typically come here, but I agree with you. The hand pulling that was just done, they didn't, so I'm wondering if Bree, because we chose the chemical, just wanted approval.
I guess
I don't,
I would ask the invasive species committee to just internally discuss this and clarify with Bree kind of what the notice when they're actually doing stuff on the lake is gonna be. It just needs to be consistent. We adopt the budget at the beginning of the year. She presents the plan. Here's what we found. Here's what we're likely to treat this year. And as long as it's staying within that budget, I think we're okay. If the board wants to do something different, we haven't, I've been on this. But it is nice to know when they're doing it. So one, we can put information out on the website if need be. And we did that. She published a little calendar early on in the spring about when they were doing stuff. But when these other ones pop up, it would be good. Because I'm sure somebody's gonna ask, if they see a boat out there dumping chemicals in the lake or something, and just be good to have that up front. Maybe that's something you guys can consider. The other question is, on the minutes for the invasive species committee, is the recording secretary taking those, or who's doing the minutes on those? Because I haven't seen minutes in a long.
so, no, well, so here's what's happening. As you know, I had volunteered to help with planning commission. And then because I was due on invasive species, I thought, shoot, I might as well just do that, and kind of took it on my own. So I posted this meeting's minutes, and then I looked and said, this is crazy, there's no other minutes. So I had contacted Michelle, who I said to her, I said, and I know I could ask the committee, but because she's the reporting secretary, I realized. So actually tonight, she just started sending me minutes, but she also said, you know, anything before her time, she doesn't know. So you had the same question I did, and so I just started moving forward.
Yeah.
So
And I
you'll
think that
see
we need
minutes.
to have, I mean, the bylaws require, they're an advisory board, they need to have.
And
minutes.
they
I'm
do
glad
have
it's
minutes, they
taken
just
care of.
have not been posted for the public, so that's what I'm taking care of. And doing it, Michelle and I are going back and forth on a few things because, again, it's a procedural thing, but I'm seeing final minutes being reported, still say draft on them and are unsigned, so I've said to her, can you send me the Word document so I can get them, you know? So I'm just trying to clean that
And
up.
there is in the bylaws a prescribed format for the agenda.
I'm trying,
I sat down with Doug and let Doug know what I thought the shortcomings were about reporting and transmittal. Because we weren't following the standard for the format, and we weren't managing the time standards correct either. So he started making corrections to that. And it was about 2.5 months ago.
yeah, I think the minutes look fine, you know, that Michelle's doing, it's just that they have not been.
I just have one question with invasive species, and I know probably gonna get opposition on this, however, I learned recently that Bree works for the company that does the chemicals, but she's also our lake manager. Does she bring options for different companies, or is she just bringing what she works for? It just feels like that's kind of that conflict of interest on invasives, you know, if she's presenting, here's the chemicals, but I also work for the company.
The same question came up a few years ago. it was deemed that she is an authority. She is licensed. And why should we have another person that we pay to do the same thing? She's capable and certified to do it.
I just,
Yeah. conflict.
that's exactly what I feel like if it.
Well,
It's
what's-
just something.
What's interesting, and again, I'm the new kid to the committee. It's my first meeting, and so I took her first email and I did a lot of Googling because a lot of this was new to me. And wanted to know, is this an appropriate treatment? Is it not? So the product being used is one that I saw repeatedly mentioned, not just in the state of Michigan, but with other sites. But as to a conflict of interest, that I can't address because I was not aware.
Yeah, and I
I'm
think,
not aware.
I think this came up in the context of when we had a room full of fishermen complaining about the fact that we were treating the lake, and now that interest group has input into the board, and there's a more of a balancing going on between we want to control the weeds and we want to fish habitat, pay for a fish study, so I think there's a more sense of, obviously, it was two voting from that. But we know that we're entering into a contract with PLM to do the management plan and to do the treatment. I don't have a fundamental problem. I don't think it's a conflict of interest. I think if we're concerned about it, we could, do some more due diligence, or the committee should do some more due diligence and find out if the prices being charged are reasonable. And I think they are. This company does work all across the state and they have a very good reputation. If they were taking advantage of people or charging, price gouging, I don't think that would be the case. That's my opinion, and that's been discussed several times. So I don't know where the committee's at with that. I know that at one time there was a big concern with that, but I think that's kind of gone by the wayside. I mean, what's your recollection, Bob, of that?
The other thing is that we did ask her, and we're preparing the, RFQs that are going out, to companies that have chemical treatment capability, mechanical removal capability, and they have project management or lake management responsibility. They have a lake manager. We're asking them to give a quote for that setup. Then we're also asking them to give a quote for, you provide all the tools, you provide the treatments and stuff like this, we'll provide the management and you will follow our directions. Those are the two options that we had to take a look at. And that's how we're writing up the request for quotes. In regards to, does she work in under those conditions? It's not common, but she has and does work under those conditions where she's the lake manager and there is a different treatment company.
So Alan, you're saying that the committee's actively pursuing that to give some recommendations back to the township board? Or that's something that's just been discussed and hasn't moved forward yet?
No, let's move forward pretty well. I gotta catch up with Tyler. He's the one helping us in the conservation district. He's the one helping us with that. And we've made quite a bit of progress. I haven't seen it in the past week, but sure to move forward from there.
So at some point, there'll be a recommendation coming from the committee after you guys have gone through that process?
Say that again?
At some point, there'll be a recommendation coming from the invasive species committee once you guys have completed that process?
Yes.
Shouldn't have been.
Decision without you guys knowing where we are. And what we're doing. There's also quite a bit of consternation on some people put on the invasive species committee for chemical treatment versus mechanical. We're just gonna have to move that forward and live with that. There's gonna be times when we're gonna do one or the other, and that's the way it goes.
And I guess just one other, something to consider, if a treatment is proposed, or the invasive species committee discusses it, like in this case, if that gets shot down, let's say it wasn't a 5-2 vote, let's say 4-3 to not do it. I mean, that's something that I think the township board needs to know about as well, and it should potentially, say, override it, but, I mean,
But one of the,
Yeah.
one of the RFQs is gonna be asked for, and we've already asked for it, is one from PLM. Which includes, it doesn't include their lighting manager.
but Al,
Well, I think there is that we can give to the township and say, look, everybody else has said no, or whatever prompts this thing, and here's our fallback.
yeah, anyway, just something to consider. I don't,
Well, but for today's purposes, I think because it isn't clear. I think it would be appropriate to have a motion.
yeah, I'll make the motion that the recommended treatment by PLM and the invasive species committee happen.
Is there a second?
Recognize that that takes place in June or July of 2025. They're contracted with us now up till mid-June next year. So.
Right, the treatment, Al, the treatment that we just are talking about is gonna happen now.
No? Oh, you mean the smaller one for Star Wars?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You're saying something has to be done because it's going to explode.
Yeah, that's one of the concerns. I mean, the other is $10,000 cost, or north of that, but, and the fact that this is more effective, but. As a matter of fact, when I talked to Bruce, she said your board meetings like when, because right now it's contained and there is a concern that it's gonna explode.
That's why we voted to have a budget if they need it right now. You can have it right now.
Well, I'll ask that be added to our agenda to talk about at the next meeting, so that we can clarify that. That's what,
I checked with David last week, is this was coming up, and he sat down, we talked, and he said, we're covered. We can move forward.
so we have a motion by Ed, a second by Bob to approve the treatment plan for the Starry Stone Wart with C Clear G at 50 pounds per acre, estimated at a cost of $70. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay, motion's carried.
Can I bring up one final point with this?
Okay,
One of the things I think we're not doing well, and it has not been done well for a long time with the invasive species committee, is where are these things coming from? If you look at the map and look at where most of the high growth is, and stuff like this, it's all in the south side of the lake and the east side. We gotta get a handle on this, because if we don't, we'll be treating the lake 2 or 3 times a week, 2 or 3 times a season.
Different.
There's a suspicion that this stuff's being brought into the lake through boat traffic.
Whatever. It happens.
we talked about eating, but not conclusion on that. So. Okay, is there any correspondence? What about bills to be paid?
I make a motion to pay the bills.
All upcoming bills.
We're moving it intentionally.
No, just all normal bills coming up. There's nothing that we haven't approved yet.
Do
Right.
we need to make a motion to pay the bills? Okay, so Bob made that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Bob, second by Amber to pay, through paying the bills. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Motion's carried. And again, sorry for the confusion, but we amended the agenda to move things the way I just did. So now, is there any public comment?
We're gonna do public comment after the close.
We're actually gonna do it now, do the closed session and allow it after. So that if anybody had public comment and didn't want to stay.
I'd like to make public comment.
Okay,
Hello?
Libby,
We can hear you, Libby.
Okay, that's what I'd like to make a comment about. The audio is very spotty depending on where the people are. Like Cindy, you come in clear because you obviously are close to a microphone. Ed, when you speak forward, it's easy to hear you. If you lean back, not so much. And Bob, you're impossible to hear. So I would ask that you be aware of where those microphones are for those of us who are trying to listen via Zoom. Thank you.
Thanks, Libby.
I have a public comment as well. And it's more a question, to the township. How is the recycle system going to be managed? And when it's being managed, I look at who makes maintenance repairs, who authorizes maintenance repairs, who authorizes contracts for cleanup and stuff like this. Lawn mowing, who does that? Or who are you guys thinking is gonna do that? Or
Talking about for the parks, Al?
for the recycle system that the fairgrounds area?
Well, it's gonna be managed the same way it always has been until we come up with a better system, which is, people drive by it, and if they see there's a problem, then, Dave Meister's done it personally many, many times. I've picked up stuff. I'm sure other people have picked up stuff. If it gets really bad, then we get a hold of either the county or PCA to come get the trailer. A lot of it has to be policed by the public, though. I mean, it's,
Why don't we start with them, managing the place?
That monitoring that is supposed to be done by the green team, which is a county thing.
It is part of that
Therefore,
contract.
if you got a complaint, that's where you go.
My input is that we put that together and define how that needs to be managed and we hand it to the county and say, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dave?
Included in your packet was the District 10 water monitoring report from throughout the summer on E. coli at the 10 sites where they collect. District 10 really doesn't care about anything beyond getting water into the bottle. What those results are might be true, might not be true. They reported a reading of 2100 at the collection site where my grandchildren swim, and on further investigation, clerical error, it should have been 129. So the report was corrected. Do we pay District 10 to do that? Because if we do, we are wasting our money.
No, I don't think so. I think that's District 10.
Right.
Matter of fact, they just wrote us a letter.
Yeah,
This is it. We're done. If you want to continue, then
they didn't finish what they were supposed to finish, which was DNA analysis of the two streams that are high content in the spring and to see whether that was agricultural or human runoff. They went up and took the samples, got some information, and then they went blank. And heard from them for 6 months. It took me 6 months to get a hold of that Henderson guy that you talking to about. Can you tell us where we are on this stuff?
Hey, is there any,
It does bring up another point, though, the District 10 shies away from doing anything but sampling a bottle. Just what, 2 weeks ago, I think it was from Manistee up to Frankfurt, beach alerts to swimming, hazardous swimming conditions because of E. coli. I got called several times and asked whether Onekama had that or not.
How are you coming down for dinner?
So.
Okay.
that was my turn.
okay. Is there any other? At least for now.
Cindy, I'd like to ask Vic to join us for the first closed session on the property, because he's got the best information on that, and I think can brief the board.
Okay, so we are ready to deal with the purchase of real estate by the township and the DeVoe consent agreement. So I will need a motion for closed session. to go into closed session regarding those two items using MCL 15.261 in accordance with the open meeting. Assuming the motion is made and approved, it will be at 5:51. Who would make that motion?
Support.
All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Okay, for everybody who's attending online, I'm gonna pause the recording, and when they come back into open session, we'll reconvene the recording, but the meeting will stay open. Lizzie or Libby, we're back in open session, or we'll be here shortly. I guess I'll make a motion to return to open session. Second.
It said to be a roll call vote.
oh yeah.
Yep.
At 6:39. Technically, it should have been a roll call vote before we went into. That's okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Cool. Okay, I would like to make the following motion.
We have to approve the minutes real quick.
Oh,
Sorry. Just a motion to approve the closed session minute.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll support.
So motion by Bob, second by Ed. Will approve the closed session minutes.
Okay.
Ready to go in for?
Yeah, I'm good.
Whoa,
So.
whoa, 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 we didn't vote on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay.
Okay, in the matter of the Mike DeVoe compliance, dated March 19th, 2024, I'd like to make the following motion. To authorize the township supervisor to obtain estimates from contractors in order to build the 8-foot privacy fence along the west side of parcel 115 as shown in Exhibit D in the compliance order, as well as estimates for the fence indicated in the compliance order on two sides of Mike's. Further, I'd like to authorize that the township supervisor proceed with a unilateral inspection of the DeVoe property with appropriate notice to Mike DeVoe and to his attorney as required by the compliance order. And further authorize the township attorney to continue discussion with Mr. DeVoe's attorney toward a resolution of this matter.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, and now we will have our final public of the evening. You get a bonus, you get 3 of them.
Yeah.
I came down because I couldn't figure out when I know you were back. I missed what happened with the real estate. Could I ask you to repeat that?
We didn't take any action in open session on the real estate.
Yeah, this is the only action. that we're
Okay,
taking.
then I didn't miss anything. All right,
No, you just-
no action.
I think you walked in seconds after we came out.
Okay, and then could I have a copy of that motion you just made?
It's an attorney-client privilege letter, so no, you can't. It'll be in the minute.
Once it's in the minutes, you can have.
Yeah, I'll have it verbatim in the minutes for you.
And when will that be?
As soon as I can get them typed up, but I'll send you that motion wording, I'll send that to you in an email.
You can send me that motion.
Yeah, I'll just copy that motion.
That would be
and
great.
Send it to you.
Good, that would be great.
I can do
I
that.
would like to be able to report that.
Welcome.
Kind of one, just remember.
Yeah, just say,
I can, but if I see it, I can maybe
I understand.
add it. It's quite frankly, an issue that a lot of people,
I understand.
and they don't always go to the township website and read the minutes.
That is true.
So I was just trying to prevent you from having a lot of phone calls. And the other thing is can I have a copy of the intergovernment agreement that the recycling director didn't seem to have? That you signed and it was instead of doing the contract?
Yeah, the addendum.
We
Yeah,
amended for addendum.
addendum. Could I have a copy of that?
Yeah, we don't have a signed copy back, but we can give you the one that's unsigned. We don't have the county signature on it yet.
All right, I would like a copy of that. Those are my, and I do have another comment, because I came all the way down here. I do want statistics available to the public on the cost recovery ordinance. Or it's brought for a vote on that ordinance. I want to see the numbers that actually affect women.
Yep.
And they're there, and they're estimated, but I would like to. It was presented in October of 2023, so we need to have, I would like more information. For the benefit, not only the fire department, but what it's going to cost.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, just asking a question. I was just wondering what the status is of the Midway Road.
Good question. Dave and I met with the property owner, one of the property owners last week. Had a good conversation with them. We need to meet with the other property owner. We haven't set that meeting up yet. And then once that's done, I think we'll have a better feeling for how we need to go forward with that. One of the things that we're going to do though, is we're gonna ask the county to correct their GIS map, because that's a huge piece of confusion. It shows that road end going basically straight out to the lake when in essence it has a big curve around. And so when people look that up, that parcel there is what you get with some of these third-party, applications that you get on your smartphones. People think that that's the public access and they go right across the one property owner's property. So we're gonna get that corrected. And once we meet with the property owner to the south, then we'll kind of figure out that path forward.
So if I could just ask one other question, because I just gave this, I don't know, a month ago. But so specifically for Midway, the records from the County Road Commission indicate Midway is a county road. Is a certified county.
Okay, so there's a little bit of confusion there. Midway is on their Act 51 map. Part of it. Whatever it is, 100 feet past where it makes
Well,
that.
this is what I'm looking.
Yeah, that's.
Shows 180.
So that's an Act 51 map, and that's what they have on their list that they send to the state that they get funding for. That road end, as I understand it, was one that the state of Michigan, because it's platted all the way to the water, when they gave up that outlet all along that whole road there, they kept the 3 public accesses. The one property owner, Holman's, actually own that parcel. So they own that property, but it's subject to the right of the public for ingress and egress. So it's a little bit more complicated. It's not a township. We don't own those parcels. That's privately owned with that.
Well, I guess I'm asking, does the township own a road end?
We don't own the road. It's a privately owned property that's subject to an easement.
What does the township have jurisdiction over the road end at that location?
I think that we do because of the fact that we have an obligation because it's a dedicated public access.
An obligation to maintain it?
No, an obligation to make sure that it's kept open to the public.
Okay.
And then there's
Well,
also,
you get into liability question.
well, there's always liability, but there's also the question of there's an encroachment, and then, this is kind of novel territory, right? There's an existing encroachment into a privately owned parcel that is subject to a right. So it's not like it's an encroachment into an actual road because that parcel is privately owned. So there's gonna have to be some legal discussion with the attorney on what the right resolution for all of this is. It's one of those really weird and unique situations.
Agreed. We'll see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other public comment? Anything else from the board before we adjourn?
Let's see, we have to have on the next board meeting, storm damage. Auxiliary building,
So I was gonna ask.
where the thing was hanging out that way. I get. Well,
You can always let me know too. Put it on.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
I.